Hi everyone. This tutorial is just going to give you the steps that you need to create 360-degree panoramas in Lumion. As you can see, I've got this started with SketchUp and Live Sync running right now. Uh, you can set up views in SketchUp and jump back and forth if you want, but you can also do it directly in Lumion. Once you're in the panoramic mode, you don't have the Live Sync control, but you can set up a view, I think, and then go there. So I'll show you a couple different ways to do that, but it's actually pretty easy to navigate around in Lumion and just create a series of, basically you're picking nodes, viewpoints that you want to stand at, and then it generates a 360-degree image. Now, there's two ways to do that also. The first way I'm going to go through is just using non-stereoscopic panoramas. Also, I'm going to show you how, I haven't checked this at school, but I will today. Hopefully it will work just fine, but it actually allows you to upload these to mylumion.com. It's their cloud service, and that means you can, yeah, and you'll get emailed a link. That's the only thing that might be an issue. It may, I think you can actually enter that in there, so it should be okay. But it sends you a link that you can use to send to someone else and actually view. And I was experimenting with it. And if I switch over here to Intuiface, I just went in. Thanks, Sean, for the use of your page. I just went in here and dropped a web browser. Intuiface allows you to do that. So if I run this, I just copied the link that was sent to me once I generated this 360 on my Lumion. I can click on this, embed the browser on the page, expand this up, and you simply can navigate around from that node to look all different directions. Now, I know you've seen this, you looked at it on the Oculus, but one nice thing about using their online viewer is that right down here in the bottom, if you click on the little eyeball, you can see that it's enabling the viewpoints of the other nodes. So I can come around here and say, okay, there's another node behind me here. That one allows me to see around here. There's another one under the pavilion. Got my flat people there, need to fix that. So it just allows you to navigate through. It's hard to tell where they are in the sequence, but if I click on this one, you can see I can get down here and then I can move over to the other side here. You can see there's another node over here where the auto show is going on. And so this could be a really effective way to allow people to explore your design. And they just have a series of nodes that if they see an eyeball, they can click on it. It loads that in, and now they're, at that part of the site. So you can literally take your own walking tour of the site and stop and look at the details and be able to really get a feel for the scale and sense of space there. So anyway, also that link you can embed in anything. I mean, you can embed it in a PDF. So if you eventually have your portfolio online, you could link to this page and be able to have anyone take a look at that. And I hope we can do that for the final compilation of all your work. So anyway, that's the value. That's one method of creating it. The other one is to create stereoscopic panoramas that it doesn't load up into the cloud. It just stores it as a certain file type, and then those are the files you can load onto the Oculus Go and actually experience that 3D stereoscopic panorama. So the process is essentially the same, but it's just a matter of changing a couple settings. The panorama I just showed you is not stereoscopic. It's just a single image with a series of nodes. So let's get started anyway. So I'm going to start somewhere about this point of view. I'm just going to set it in SketchUp and get it close to where I want. And now I'm going to jump over to Lumion. I think I'll just expand this up to full screen. Okay, so again, I can use the wheel to zoom in and out. I can use the right mouse to pan the camera back and forth. And but before I go too far, what I need to do is come over to my menus and choose my 360 panorama mode. All right, so that gives me, I still have one left here, I'll get rid of that. This gives me my basic view, and you can see you can set the horizontal eye level, so it gives you a 2-point, which I'd like you to do, and you can adjust the height. And as you move around, the height changes. So depending on the height of the landform, so you'll have to keep adjusting this so it's somewhere in that roughly 5 foot to 6 foot range, whatever you want to set it at. And you can tilt the camera. Generally, if I look at the light poles here, you can see when you right click and start moving, it gives you that rule of thirds grid. So I'm trying to set this up and tilt it so that that light pole is parallel with that grid line. Now I know I basically should be at a level eye level in there. Okay, once you get an initial view that you want, maybe I'll zoom in a little bit on this. Okay, so that gives me a nice spot to take a view. I simply come down here, hover over one of these panorama storage slots and click Store Panorama. Then I can navigate through here. Maybe I want to go around this way. Let's say I'm going to navigate forward. I won't go in the pavilion this time. I'll just maybe get kind of right in the center of it there. Again, I'm going to adjust my eye level down, click horizontal eye level. Okay, so somewhere in there, once I've got that set up the way I want, and again, it's 360 degrees, so you don't really have to worry about the perfect compositional view here. You just need to get it positioned in the right place. So click on another blank one, store that panorama, and just keep scrolling and navigating through. I think it allows you to store up to 10 in a sequence, and after that, you'd have to start another sequence over. So maybe I'll move forward here a little bit. It's on eye level, come down, get past the people there. Okay, something like that. Again, I'm going to tilt this so I've got it, my light poles looking like they're vertical. 5'8", that looks pretty good. Come down and click Store Panorama. Okay, I'm just going to do those three, but you can keep going as far as you want. This is a great way. One of the things I was thinking of, I know some of you have created nice seating areas within your open spaces, and generally when you create this perspective, the perspective is always looking at the seating area, not actually in the seating area, because you want people to see what it looks like, but experientially, what you really want to know is how does it feel to be in that seating area. So in this case, you could have a panorama looking at that seating area and then place another node right where the bench is and generate a 360 there. So you can not only look at here's where the space is, these are the elements that define it, but then you can actually put yourself in that space and see what it would be like to sit there and to look out into the rest of the open space or the park that you've designed. So it's a great tool to be able to not just show what it looks like from a distance from the outside, but to show what it looks like being there actually in the space. And a static perspective from that point, it would be hard to know where you're at because it's just a single viewpoint. But because these are 360 degrees, you can look right, look left, look all the way around, and you get a feeling for how you're sitting in that space. All right, so the other thing that I would do is I'm going to select each of these. There are limited effects you can add, but I like to add the shadow effects in here just because it does improve the shadows a little bit. And so that's the only thing. I'm going to go to each view, add the shadow in, and just simply turn on soft shadows and fine detail shadows. And again, if I save this, you could just load that in by loading file. But since I only have 3 nodes, this is a pretty easy way to do it. Okay, so you can see here if I hover over any of these, I can render this particular panorama. But if I want the nodes or the viewpoints to be in there, what I need to do is go down here to the right and say render all 360 panoramas. And usually it defaults to this view here, and you could, if you render it using 360 panoramas, it will save it to your computer. And when we do the stereo ones, we're going to use the Gear or Oculus setting on here. Right now, I'm going to set this up for my Lumion. So you simply put in your email address and Park Pano's final, rename that since I already uploaded one if you want a description, and you just click upload, and that's essentially starting the command to render. So you'll see that you can have, even with 10 nodes, it doesn't take very long to render. It really kind of goes through each one in just 10, 12 seconds. And it renders them in slices. You can see it doesn't really make much sense when you look at it in this film strip format, but once it puts it together, you've got it there. So now it's already done rendering those images, and it's uploading them to my Lumion, and then it will send an email to my address telling me there's a link, and you'll see in a few seconds here that it will actually pop up another screen that has a link that I can click on right there and pull it up in a browser and take a look at it. So as you can see, we're not requiring you to do these extra panoramas, but they could really be effective in showing and explaining your design, and they really take literally a few minutes to do. So I'm happy to help you in class to work through this as well. And once this is done, I'll go through and show you the settings for the other kind of stereoscopic. Now those actually do take a little longer to render because it has to do one for the right eye and one for the left eye. And but it's essentially the same process. So if I want to see what I just did, I just click on that. It's going to launch my browser. And it's going to start with that first node. And again, I have to click on the eyeball, take me to my second node. And then over to my third node. Okay, so that's all there is to it. It's really just picking those viewpoints, and you can jump across from any, they don't have to be in sequence. That's the nice thing about it. I haven't figured out how to get it to start. It's one thing I'm going to look into. I never seem to know. It always seems to start or open the panorama 180 degrees to the direction that you're looking, but I'm not sure that's perfectly consistent. So I'll check on that and let you know. But that's how you set up to load them online. Now, if you want to generate a different kind, let's just say I'm going to I'll pick this one here, and I can just click on the render 360 panorama. And in this case, I'm going to go around here. I'm going to choose stereoscopic. I'm going to choose gear Oculus. And advanced settings is just how many slices you can adjust it. This has to do with how the stereo pairs, they're separated by a distance for your eyes. This is kind of a standard setting. I've messed with it a little bit, but I don't think you need to change it. So you don't really need to see these. If you come up here and do production quality, these renderings can take really like 7 hours to do. So I would keep it down at good quality and leave it at that. It'll still look pretty good. And then you can see there's just a local button. You click on render. It asks you to give it a name, and it will actually add to that name because it's doing, as you can see here, it's doing 720 slices for each eye image, for the image for each eye, and it kind of goes through. And see right now, even this at the low setting, it's going to take 13 minutes. So I probably won't wait to have it go all the way through, but you'll be able to see the image starting to come together here. And that image format is what I loaded onto the Oculus Go and used the 360 photo app on that in order to get the stereoscopic viewing effect. But setting it up works exactly the same way as what I just ran through. So it's a really simple process. It's a great way to show your work, and since you can have it hosted online and just supply somebody with a link and they can view it in any browser, it's really a great way to help visualize and show off your work. So anyway, that's what you need to do to create these 360 panoramas. And the next tutorial I'm going to do is to show you how to add some of the animation and do one of those kind of moving perspectives so that it's a stationary fixed viewpoint, but it allows time to be added so that you can see the trees blowing in the breeze, and you can add sounds if you want. That's a little more complicated, but still, if you already have your view set up, it's really quite easy to do. Okay.